Now on CoastTV News.
Hurricane Erin tracking about 400 miles east of Delmarva, but she's going to show her strength this afternoon. We'll time out when we can expect the highest winds and the highest waves coming up.
Inlet preparing for Erin. What DENREC is doing at one of Sussex County's dune trouble spots that had a breach last year.
Celebrating the life of Mike Castle with funeral services beginning today, we look at the plans to honor the late congressman and governor.
Cape capacity concerns, how the school district is attempting to deal with a growing student population and the plans it has for an addition to the high school.
This is CoastTV News Today.
And our 6 o'clock hour is underway. Good morning, I'm Matt Pensick.
And good morning, I'm Lisa Weber. It is Thursday, August 21st, 2025. August 21st, wow.
You know what? Next weekend's Labor Day weekend.
I know. I feel like 4th of July was, it feels like it was a year ago, but it also feels like it was last week.
All right, well, our summer's dwindling away.
It is.
That's one story.
Yeah.
Our big story, winds and waves. We've been tracking it all week, and today seems like we'll be getting the worst of it.
It does. We've been talking a lot about that severe wind. That is our biggest concern today, and we're going to bring in First Alert meteorologist Chris Mastrobuono to tell us more about that. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning, Elisa and Matt, and good morning to you, Delmarva. Yes, we've been talking about it for days now, and it is here, and it's going to only get worse as far as the winds go. And temperatures this morning are in the 60s away from the coast. 68 in Georgetown. We're at 71, Milton to 72 in Bethany Beach. But those winds, you could see out of the northeast flow, 28-mile-an-hour sustained winds, Indian River Inlet, 29 there in Salisbury. The strongest winds we're going to be seeing are going to be confined to the coast this afternoon. Gusts up to 34 miles an hour there, Indian River Inlet, to 29 in Ocean City. We've seen a few showers push in off the Atlantic, pushing into Sussex County as well as portions of Cape May. We have another shower that's going to be pushing into Lewis here over the next 10 to 15 minutes. This is just some of the farther outer bands. We have a stationary front here, and then here's Erin off the Carolina coast, made its closest approach. Now it's beginning to lift to the northeast, still a Category 2 hurricane with sustained winds of 105 miles an hour, and this is going to continue lifting to the northeast here over the next 2 days. So we expect those wind gusts as high as 50 miles an hour along the coast. Major tidal flooding coinciding with high tide this evening, so those waves as high as 13 to 14 feet. As far as our inland locations, it's a cloudy, breezy day with an isolated shower this morning. There's those winds peaking at 50, 55 miles an hour through the afternoon today. 40-mile-an-hour gusts there in Rehoboth. And those strong northerly winds are going to continue through the evening, and then we're looking at those winds to kind of relax as we go into the day on Friday, but still a breezy day as sunshine makes a return. Going to be overcast through the morning and day to day, starting off with those isolated showers, but again, very windy conditions confined to the coast, as well as that dangerous surf that's going to be continuing on Delmarva. And it's going to continue even into the weekend. We'll talk about that and some sunnier times ahead in that full 7-day forecast. Matt.
Looking forward to that. Thank you, Chris. Let's get a live look at the coast right now. This is Rehoboth Beach. Some hints of sun trying to break through the clouds there as the waves continue to crash on the shoreline. And we continue to track those waves, potential rip currents, all that goes in with Hurricane Erin. We'll be tracking that throughout the day. Now on your screen is video we got early last night of the North Indian River Inlet. You may remember large portions of dunes were washed away almost a year ago, exactly a year ago, as Hurricane Erin now swirls and churns off the coast. Concerns about dune damage have resurfaced. DENREC has staged heavy equipment on both sides of the bridge to respond as needed.
People on the Delmarva coast are preparing for the effects of Hurricane Erin. As you heard Chris mention moments ago, strong winds and flooding are expected today. Many beaches have been closed most of the week due to rough surf and rip currents. Last night we spoke with people in Bethany Beach who say they're hoping for the best but preparing for the worst.
Well, there's no beach there. It's all waves.
Yeah. Just a little windy and lots of waves and surf crashing in.
All right. We're looking forward to tomorrow, see how it is then.
And the last update we have from the Bethany Beach Police is that swimming is still not allowed there.
Other Delmarva beaches also feeling the effects of Erin. On Wednesday in Dewey Beach, the ocean was open, but people were encouraged to not go past their knees. In Rehoboth Beach, the ocean was open to go in only waist deep. At Assateague State Park in Maryland, ocean access closed. And in South Bethany, the beach was open for walking, but ocean closed to swimmers. And we'll provide updates on Coast TV News and our app and website on the status of our beaches throughout the day. Does bring us to our Coast TV poll, and we want to know, how do beach closures impact your plans?
And so far, majority of the voters, 84%, say no impact, 11% a slight change in plans, and 5% major disruption. And if you haven't voted yet, you can still do so on coasttv.com or over on our mobile app.
North Carolina could provide an example of what to expect for our beaches. Look at what waves are doing in Buxton. And this is near Cape Hatteras in the Outer Banks. Early last night, the main road into Buxton, that's Route 12, it was shut down. North Carolina Department of Transportation says it will assess the road after the next high tide this morning.
And the cloudy weather on Delmarva is having an effect on a scheduled launch at Wallops Island. Earlier this week, we were told the launch window for TomX Plus was pushed back to tonight, but that has now changed again. According to the NASA flight facility, the mission needs clear skies. The TomX, or Turbulent Oxygen Mixing Experiment sounding rocket, will investigate one of Earth's atmospheric regions. The new launch window opens Friday night at 10 o'clock.
New this morning, off Fenwick Island is eyeing what Erin could do to their beaches. We also have a focus on the future with several topics up for review. The Delaware Sea Grant is presenting on sea level rise and emergency preparedness. A DENREC official will review the National Flood Insurance Program. Strong Environmental Incorporated providing an overview of Fenwick Island's new flood and stormwater planning and design scope. DEMA will discuss the state's hazard mitigation and recovery planning. This starts at 1 p.m. at the Fenwick Island Town Hall. New this morning, some of the most powerful people in global economics meeting today in Wyoming. Among them are Federal Reserve leaders and people who serve similar functions in other countries.
They can influence borrowing rates and inflation. Amy Kiley shows us that their meeting comes at a tense time for the U.S. Fed.
If you let day-to-day politics come in, that's a very noisy process.
President Donald Trump is increasing his pressure on the Federal Reserve as central bankers from around the world gather in the U.S. today. Their annual symposium in Wyoming is a major economic event impacting monetary policy and consumers. Fed Chair Jerome Powell is giving the keynote speech today. Analysts say he might signal a modest rate cut given labor market concerns. Trump wants him to be more aggressive.
This guy is a numbskull. He keeps the rates too high.
When you compromise the independence of the central bank, very bad things happen to the economy.
Trump says Powell should resign. Now he's saying the same thing about Fed Governor Lisa Cook. She's a Biden appointee who voted against rate cuts recently. A member of the Trump administration alleges she might have committed mortgage fraud by naming two primary residences.
There's a lot of questions here, and that's why I'm saying for the sake of the country, she should just resign. And I do think this is a very different situation than, the chair.
Cook says she won't step down and instead will provide information and facts about her financial history.
Anytime you see them going after someone who's reporting something they don't like, who's unwilling to do their bidding on interest rates, don't assume that that person is guilty of anything other than doing their job.
I'm Amy Kiley reporting.
And former St. Louis Federal Reserve Bank President James Bullard, who we saw at the beginning there, says he is in the running to replace Powell, whose term ends next year.
Funeral services are expected to take place today for longtime Delaware Congressman and Governor Mike Castle. Family and friends will gather at Chandler Funeral Home in Wilmington from 5 to 8 p.m. with a private burial planned at St. Joseph on the Brandywine Church on Friday at 10:30 in the morning. A celebration of life will then follow at the Wilmington Country Club. Mike Castle passed away last Thursday at the age of 86.
Happening tonight, the latest attempt to expand Cape Henlopen High School. The Board of Education is scheduled to vote to file for a certificate of need with the state by the end of this month. It's for an addition at the school on Kings Highway in Lewis. In 2024, Cape considered a similar request for a 24 classroom expansion and athletic facility improvements. The expansion will allow for over 400 additional seats. The Board of Education meeting is set for 6 p.m. at the H.O. Birmingham School in Milton.
And we're just getting started in this hour of Coast TV News today.
Yeah, coming up, Jeeps at the Beach, the big festival in Ocean City kicking off this morning, including the event about to begin in less than 2 hours.
Also, turbulent touchdown. This new video showing a JetBlue plane that veered off the runway. What the FAA is saying about its investigation.
And next, a therapy dog who has made a huge impact in Lewis this whole year we reintroduce you to Paris. Coast TV News Today is back after this. Every Thursday, we like to bring you heartwarming stories along the coast.
Today, we are reintroducing you to a therapy dog who makes a difference at the Lewis Senior Activity Center every week. Here's Madeline Overturf's profile on Paris, the therapy dog.
In our business, there's a phrase, never work with kids or dogs. Their star simply shines too bright. But we've got to tell you the story of Paris, the therapy poodle, who in Lewis is changing lives, one pet at a time.
This is Paris, full name Grand Champion Dominion Fabulous. Weekly being a champion for people's hearts at the Lewis Senior Activity Center.
I'm grieving a loved one that has recently passed away, and this is the best medicine, being around a dog.
Yeah, want to visit? Okay. Paris is a certified therapy dog. She and her mom Joan spend time here, bringing a special calm and joy that only our four-legged friends can bring.
They both smile and they connect, they really do.
Joan and Paris also go to Delaware Hospice, where Paris brings peace.
Good girl. I remember a patient that we visited who was really at end of life, and he hadn't spoken to anybody or reacted to anybody, but they did know that he loved dogs. So they asked me if I would bring her to his room, and I did. And they just took his hand and put his hand on her, and he actually opened his eyes and smiled and said hi.
Whatever door Paris walks through, tail wagging and with those soulful puppy dog eyes, she uses her 4 paws to help people take a different type of pause.
You know, she makes everybody like just stop, take a breath, and kind of refocus on what's important, you know, just being, I think she's really about like taking care of yourself.
An indefinable but undeniable type of healing, exemplified only by man's best friend.
Paris, you are so sweet.
For Coastal Connections, I'm Madeline Overturf.
You are something else.
Time is 6:16, and you are looking live at the marina in Cambridge. And Chris is in for Bob this morning. There could be flooding in the back bays on the midshore, Chris, in addition to what communities on the ocean coast could experience.
Yeah, without question, with that high surf, we're going to see some minor flooding issues in the back bays, but some major flooding is possible along the Delaware coastline this evening. And temperatures right now pretty mild at the coast, 72 in Rehoboth. We're at 68 in Georgetown, 67 in Bridgeville. But those winds you could see sustained out of the northeast. We're 29 miles an hour there in Salisbury, 26 Indian River Inlet. Gusts even higher, 32 Indian River Inlet. We're going to see some gusts approaching 50 this afternoon. And you can see wave heights right now, we're at 7 to 9 feet across the Delmarva Peninsula, up to 12 feet there off the Jersey coast. We've seen a few scattered showers push in off the Atlantic, kind of the outer bands of this massive hurricane. And you can see it just made its closest approach to the Carolinas over the last few hours, but it's beginning that northeasterly push at about 17 miles an hour. So it's moving away from the coast. Sustained winds 105, gusts upwards 125. So still a powerful Category 2 hurricane as it lifts to the northeast and into the North Atlantic, and it will eventually become extratropical. So the tropical storm warnings for the coastal waters is going to continue, as well as the coastal flood warning. That's up through Saturday. That's due in part to the tidal flooding issue of that onshore flow, the push of water, and the high surf. And that continues all the way down the Delmarva coast through Accomack and Worcester counties for the coastal waters there as well. We also do have wind advisories for the coastal areas, and that goes up today through midnight, and that's due in part to those high winds we expect right along the coast. Dangerous swells, rip currents 8 to 14 feet, and we're dealing with those winds as high as 50 miles an hour with major tidal flooding through the Delaware coast. There's those winds this afternoon, gusting upwards of 50, Bethany Beach 46. Even away from the coast, we're going to be seeing some gusts upwards of 35, 45 miles an hour, and we're going to continue those strong winds at least through the evening. And then as Erin pushes even further away from the U.S. coast, we're going to see those winds die down. But Friday, a sunny day, but still a bit on the breezy side, especially along the shoreline. As far as precipitation goes, not expecting much. As we've been saying, could see an isolated shower, but we're going to be socked in the overcast skies for most of the day. And then we clear pretty rapidly through the evening and overnight. And we wake up tomorrow to sunshine, and Friday looking really nice with temperatures in the upper 70s. So there's that wave action. Waves pushing along the coast here upwards of 8 to 14 feet, and even into tomorrow, we're still going to see some 4 to 8 footers as far as the waves are concerned. So here's the other concern, the major tidal flooding throughout the Delaware coastline, inundation up to 3 foot during high tide this evening. So as far as the forecast goes today, temperatures staying in the lower 70s, some showers early. High pressure builds in for Friday and sets the stage for a really nice weekend. We're at 75 today with the isolated shower. Again, those winds gusting upwards of 50, decreasing clouds overnight with a low of 60. Could see some upper 50s away from the coast. 79 in our Friday. Dangerous surf is going to continue. Keep that in mind if you have beach plans over the next, well, into the weekend. And then we'll see a few isolated storms late Sunday, maybe an isolated shower early Monday morning, but next week shaping up to be a very nice week.
Thank you, Chris. Footage filmed by the Air Force showed the personnel on board an Air Force Reserve Super Hercules aircraft dropping ocean buoys ahead of Hurricane Erin. The Defense Department said the squadron, known as the Air Force Reserve Hurricane Hunters, is working with the U.S. Navy and partner agencies to collect real-time data on waves, currents, and atmospheric turbulence to improve understanding of how tropical cyclones form and intensify.
Newly released video captures the terrifying moment when a JetBlue plane veered off the runway at Logan International Airport in Boston earlier this summer. The JetBlue plane, inbound from Chicago, had just touched down when it cut sharply to the left and skidded into a grassy area of the runway. This video of the June 12th incident was just released yesterday. The Federal Aviation Administration is investigating to determine the exact cause of that failed landing.
On Wednesday, Delaware Governor Matt Myers signed into law House Bill 54, or DJ's Act. It's the latest effort in suicide prevention. The bill is named in honor of the children of Ben Antonick, who died by suicide on September 1st, 2021. It establishes the Office of Suicide Prevention, allowing for the statewide coordination of both suicide prevention and post-suicide response efforts.
Coming up, Sussex Shaping Spaces, where the progress stands for a group tabbed to develop land policies in the county.
And celebrating Jeeps, it's all the fun that goes into the popular vehicle, what to expect when Jeep Fest kicks off this morning in Ocean City. Coast TV News Today returns in a moment.
Happening today, the crafting of land use policy recommendations in Sussex County. It's a continuing effort this year by the working group with that name. After several meetings, the group has drafted recommendations which the county council may consolidate, and some include creating higher density for development in certain areas that could lead to taller buildings with more housing units. Another recommendation is syncing up road improvements with new developments. Group meets today, and that is set for 10 a.m.
Starting today in Ocean City, it's Jeep Fest. Organizers say it's one of the biggest and most popular Jeep events in the Mid-Atlantic. In just over an hour from now, the staging for the beach crawl begins at the inlet parking lot. Start time for that crawl is scheduled for 7:45. Throughout the day, drivers can take their Jeeps on sand courses, and also later today, Chief Meteorologist Paul Williams will be live at the event during our newscast. And if you are going to that event in Ocean City or you're anywhere on the coast, do not blow away.
Yeah, we're concerned there. If you're going to Jeep Fest, it's a great time. It's going to be windy. Hope that doesn't affect Paul. Hope
nothing.
He wouldn't blow away, would he?
I know you'd be very sad.
Oh. I mean, what would we do without Chief Meteorologist Paul Williams, Chris?
I know, right? Well, I'm sure he'll be put down. I'm sure it'll be pretty good there today, but it is going to be windy. It is going to be a very windy day if you're heading on down. A lot of clouds and even an isolated shower early. Tomorrow looking much better. under mostly sunny skies and temperatures in the upper 70s. So again, those waves are going to be business today. A lot of beach erosion across the area, even expecting 6 to 10 foot waves tomorrow and even over the weekend as the seas begin to relax. So keep that in mind if you're heading on down to the beach tomorrow. A lot of wind in Ocean City, Fenwick Island today, as well as those tidal flooding issues. Lewis, temperatures only in the lower 70s with morning showers, overcast skies throughout the afternoon. Cambridge, overcast through the day with an isolated shower. Temperatures generally in the mid-70s in Crisfield and Cambridge. And congratulations to our umbrella winner, Brian Hasey of Selbyville, Delaware. You're the winner of our umbrella. Coming up the next half hour, the latest on Erin and your full 7-day forecast. Elisa.
Chris, and after the break on Coast TV News today, rocket launch way after another delay at Wallops Island when NASA says a new window will open for its latest mission.
Also, Fenwick fights storm damage. What town officials hope to learn from a series of presentations taking place today.
And ocean access, the rules in place for Delmarva's beaches as a result of Hurricane Erin. Stay with us on Coast TV News today.
Now on Coast TV News.
Hurricane Erin tracking about 300-400 miles east of Delmarva, but she's going to show her strength this afternoon. We'll time out when we can expect the highest winds and the highest waves coming up.
Getting ahead of Erin.
So we moved everything off the ground.
How people living in our coastal communities are preparing for high surf generated from the hurricane.
Swimming status, the rules beach patrols and other agencies have an effect for ocean access due to Erin.
Wait at Wallops. Another delay for a launch at the NASA facility when the new window opens for the Sounding Rockets mission.
This is Coast TV News Today.
August 12th, 2025. Good morning, everybody. I'm Matt Pensick. Good morning, Elisa.
Good morning, Matt. Matt, it is August 21st, not August 12th. You're going
did
back.
I say that?
Yeah, you're going back in time. I know you don't want summer to end.
I don't want summer to end. I don't.
Matt loves the summertime, but we're going to switch gears now because we're going to talk more about Hurricane Erin.
Yeah, we're continuing our coverage of Hurricane Erin on Delmarva. Everything really pointing to today being the most impactful day.
And we're really talking about those strong winds. We've mentioned it, but once again, bring anything inside that could blow away, that could be dangerous, or that you don't want to lose. And we're going to bring in First Alert meteorologist Chris Mastrobuono to tell us more about these conditions. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning, Elisa and Matt. Yeah, we're going to see those winds really begin to peak this afternoon. Temperature-wise, doing pretty good. Upper 60s away from the coast, lower 70s. We're at 73 Bethany, 72 in Lewis, to 66 in Milford. But as we've been talking about, the winds are going to mean business. We're seeing some sustained winds anywhere between about 15 to 30 miles an hour, 29 in Salisbury, 28 Indian River Inlet, gusts upwards of 24 Rehoboth to 32 in Indian River Inlet as those winds continue to come off the ocean. We've seen a few spotty showers, all thanks to these far outer bands of Erin. You kind of see the circular motion, a massive storm with we have a stalled out front kind of north of Erin, but Erin made its closest approach to the Carolinas early this morning, but it's beginning that northeasterly push, so it's pushing away from the coast. Still, for pretty strong Category 2 hurricane with gusts upwards of 125 miles an hour. You can see the massive size of this system. It's going to continue lifting to the northeast here over the next 2 days, but the seas are going to mean business. We have major tidal flooding possible along the Delaware coast through high tide this evening. Waves upwards of 8 to 14 feet. Again, can't rely on an isolated shower. Rain not really going to be an issue with this system as we deal with cloudy skies inland and those gusts upwards of 40 miles an hour, watching for some minor flooding in the back bays of the Chesapeake. There's those winds gusting upwards of 50 miles an hour through the afternoon and into the evening. That's when we expect the brunt of those winds and the brunt of that wave action to hit the coast. And then as we go into Friday, looking at much calmer conditions. So an isolated shower through the evening. Otherwise, it's an overcast, windy day along the coast, and we're going to see those winds out of the northeast continue. We are going to talk about some nicer weather ahead. Sunshine is going to be back just in time for the weekend. We'll talk about that coming up in the full 7-day forecast. Elisa.
Thank you, Chris. Sunshine is good to hear, and we are now taking a live look at Ocean City. We are getting a much clearer view of the waves. As we can see, they are active already this morning, but those conditions are expected to worsen throughout the day. And beaches on Delmarva are feeling the effects of that weather. In Dewey Beach, the ocean was open, but people were encouraged not to go past their knees. In Rehoboth Beach, the ocean was also open, but you could only go in to your waist. At Assateague State Park in Maryland, ocean access was closed. And in Bethany Beach and Ocean City, no swimming is allowed. South Bethany, the beach is open for walking, but the ocean is closed to swimmers.
And people on the coast preparing for the effects of Hurricane Erin. Strong winds, flooding expected today. We talked about those beach closures that have occurred most of the week due to the rough surf and rip conditions. We spoke with people in Fenwick Island who say they're hoping for the best, preparing for the worst.
We moved everything off the ground and cleared and expecting, they're saying 1 to 2 feet of flooding, so we'll see tomorrow.
And take a look at this. A ferry boat coming from Block Island, Rhode Island is seen rocking in the waves as Hurricane Erin swells impacted that area on Wednesday. Sources say it was very busy around the dock because people heard that the ferries would be closing for 2 days and some were scrambling to get off the island.
Cloudy weather on Delmarva is also having effect on a scheduled launch at Wallops Island. Earlier this week, we told you that the launch window for the Tom X Plus was pushed back to tonight. That has changed again. According to the NASA flight facility, the mission needs clear skies. The Tom XR turbulent oxygen mixing experiment sounding rocket will investigate one of the Earth's atmospheric regions. The new launch window opens Friday night at 10 p.m.
New this morning, while Fenwick Island is eyeing what Erin could do to their beaches, they also have focus on the future with several topics up for review. The Delaware Sea Grant is presenting on sea level rise and emergency preparedness. A Denmark official will review the National Flood Insurance Program. Stroen Environmental Incorporated is providing an overview of Fenwick Island's new flood and stormwater planning and design scope. And DEMA will discuss the state's hazard mitigation and recovery planning. This will all start at 1 p.m. at the Fenwick Island Town Hall.
We have a live look now at Washington, D.C. There is the White House in the center of your screen. And despite President Trump's insistence that leaders of Ukraine and Russia will soon sit down to negotiate an end to their war, officials in Russia, they're throwing cold water on the idea. Russia's foreign minister called talks to plan for Ukraine's post-war security, which exclude Russia, a, quote, road to nowhere. The Russians are also wanting low-level discussions to take place before any meeting between the presidents occur.
NBC's Alice Barr shows us the White House continues to look for a potential date and location for the Russia-Ukraine sit-down. Amidst all of this, NATO military leaders met to discuss Ukraine's security.
New questions this morning about whether a meeting between Ukraine's President Zelensky and Russia's President Putin will actually happen, while the White House voices confidence that it's on track.
Sometimes leaders sitting down face to face can break the logjam that their teams don't necessarily have the ability to do.
Russia is signaling it's in no rush for a leaders' summit, with top diplomat Sergei Lavrov saying lower-level negotiations must come first. And that talks among Western leaders about guaranteeing Ukraine's security are a, quote, road to nowhere without Russia involved. Those talks continued Wednesday at a meeting of NATO military leaders. Ukraine now buoyed by President Trump's new pledge of American assistance to prevent a future Russian attack, though he's ruled out U.S. troops on the ground. Some lawmakers pressing the president to act on the harsher sanctions he's long discussed to ramp up pressure on the Russian economy.
We need to hold Putin accountable. We need to get the parties to the table. We need a ceasefire.
With the Russian bombardment only intensifying, a former U.S. ambassador to Ukraine arguing Putin has no incentive to stop.
They want to continue to pound the Ukrainians until they get what they want, and that's why standing up to them is the only way to do it.
Ukraine's President Zelensky saying overnight his meeting with Putin is necessary to end the war, even as his team is preparing action plans if Russia backs out and its assault drags on. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
Today is the deadline to file to run and register to vote in the 2025 Dewey Beach municipal election. According to Commissioner Paul Bauer, the only candidates who have filed so far are himself and other incumbents, David Jasinski and Elizabeth Gibbings. Election day is September 20th, and absentee voting begins on August 25th. That goes through September 19th.
Funeral services are expected to take place today for longtime Delaware Congressman and Governor Mike Castle. Family and friends will gather at Chandler Funeral Home in Wilmington from 5 to 8 p.m. with a private burial planned at St. Joseph on the Brandywine Church on Friday at 10:30 in the morning. A celebration of life will then follow at the Wilmington Country Club. Mike Castle passed away last Thursday at the age of 86.
Texas House of Representatives has given final approval of the redistricting bill to redraw congressional districts. House Bill 4 passed with a vote of 88 to 52. 10 Democrats were still absent from the vote, and Texas Governor Greg Abbott is expected to sign it as quickly as possible after Senate approval. After the vote, Abbott released a statement congratulating the Texas House Speaker and Republican members for passing the bill. In the statement, Abbott assured the redistricting will, quote, better reflect the actual values of Texans. We still have a lot more news to get to in this final half hour. Don't go anywhere.
Coming up, it's almost that time of year. Dunkin' has released a preview of its highly anticipated fall menu with pumpkin spice season right around the corner.
Also, lead runner. We look at the running back battle brewing for Washington. CoastTV News today. We'll be right back.
It was a good Thursday morning, Delmarva, as we continue to monitor those waves at the coast and those high winds you see live there in Ocean City. The waves crashing along the coast and the surf really beginning to pick up there in our tunnel razor cam there in Lewis, and you see some choppy seas there in Indian River Inlet. But we're going to be dealing with a lot of high winds here, especially at the coast as we go throughout the day today. Gusts upwards of 25, 35 miles an hour, upwards of 50 throughout the afternoon. Seeing some scattered showers push in off the Atlantic, all thanks to the outer bands of Erin as Erin continues to push out to sea. So expect those high winds at the coast today. Major tidal flooding likely along the Delaware coast coinciding with high tide this evening. The good news is the sunshine returns for our Friday, but those seas are going to continue to be high even into Friday. You can get your forecast anytime by dialing the First Alert weather phone, sponsored by Broxton Mandalas Federico. Coming up, Elisa, we'll talk about some sunnier, drier weather ahead as we head into the weekend.
Sounds good, Chris. Well, a popular gym is facing a lawsuit from the Federal Trade Commission for making it too hard for consumers to cancel their memberships. The lawsuit involves California-based Fitness International Fitness and Sports Club, which operates LA Fitness and other gym chains. The two companies have more than 600 locations and more than 3.7 million members nationwide. The FTC's complaint says LA Fitness uses complicated methods, going beyond requiring people to cancel in person or via mail, and therefore making it extremely difficult to cancel.
It's still maybe summer, but Dunkin's already thinking about the fall. Dunkin' released its fall menu, and it includes some fan favorites, as well as there's a couple of new items here too. This includes the Mixed Berry Daydream Refresher with another collaboration with Sabrina Carpenter. And of course, you can't have fall without all things pumpkin. And as far as food goes, there's new iced pumpkin loaf, or you can try fan favorite pumpkin donuts and munchkins. They are also returning.
As we enter the final week of NFL training camp, the Washington Commanders will have some tough decisions to make. Terry McLaurin has headlined the preseason question marks, but another notable name missing in action has been Brian Robinson Jr. And when you're coming off a season like the one the Commanders had last year, you have to find answers quickly.
They're big guys. They know what's at stake.
Commanders head coach Dan Quinn says he's addressed the team regarding the situation with Robinson. Although there are many questions without a clear-cut answer, the voices in the running back room are stressing the importance of rising to the occasion.
That's what the NFL is about. The NFL is about stepping up. It's about continuing to take advantage of an opportunity. It doesn't matter if you're a 10-year vet or you're in your rookie year.
After nearly a decade in the league, Austin Eckler understands probably more than most of the other backs that stepping up in a situation like this is really all you can do. And young guys like Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt or Bill are finding ways to do exactly that.
It's definitely a business, and you just gotta just show up every day like it's your last and just give it your all. I was an underdog at one point, and I still got so much that I want to prove.
So as the curtain slowly closes on the preseason, these Commanders running backs are ready to do whatever needs to be done to make the team and help win football games.
At the end of the day, we're all focusing on ourselves. We're all trying to make the team. The more, energy that we focus into, not knowing what's going to happen, we're really not being our best self. So, I think everybody in the room are just focusing on themselves right now and trying to be a better player.
From the Commanders practice facility, I'm Darren Wallace for the Delmarva Sports Network.
And coming up tonight on the Delmarva Sports Network at 7 o'clock, it's live Shorebirds baseball, and at 10:30, it's the final score. And here's what you can look forward to this afternoon on Coast Life at 4 p.m.
We're getting closer and closer to the weekend, and if you're still planning things out, well, you want to tune into Coast Life, because here's what's coming up today at 4. We're headed to Ocean City, and we're checking out the bearded clam. Also on Coast Life, we're going to be chatting new arrivals from Water Lily here on the couch. Can't wait for you to see all that fashionable fun. And it's Thursday, so you know we're going to be spilling some drama, spilling some tea. All of that fun and more is coming up today at 4 on Coast Life. We'll see you then.
If you're having a rough week, you can cheer up with a weekly dose of local good news from Coast TV with personal features, fun things to do each weekend, and more. You can sign up right now for free at coasttv.com and get your weekly dose of joy directly to your inbox on Friday.
Well, it's a cloudy, breezy start in Salisbury. We had a few scattered showers push over the area. Temperature 69 there. A few spotty showers early. Otherwise, it's an overcast, breezy day. The real concern is along the coast. We'll talk more about that and what some gorgeous weather is set to arrive in my full 7-day forecast.
The time is now 6:47, and we are taking a live look outside at Laurel this morning, and we do not have the best view of what's going on out there. Chris, like all of our cameras, I think they're experiencing the effects of all of the wind blowing, but that is the biggest story today. It's that strong wind we're going to feel.
Exactly right. We're dealing with a lot of low clouds out there. We've seen a few spotty showers, but rain really not going to be the issue with this system. You see pretty mild at the coast. We're at 73 Bethany, 73 in Rehoboth. We're at 68 Redden, 68 in Seaford, and 65 Harrington, but those winds only beginning to ramp up. 27-mile-an-hour sustained winds in Indian River Inlet, but when you talk about the gusts, we're gusting upwards of 32 there in Indian River Inlet, 20 in Rehoboth, 24 in Bethany. You can see wave heights right now. We're up to 12 feet there off the coast of New Jersey, 7 to 9 footers here off the coast of Delmarva as this wave and wind action continue to just pound the coast here over the next really throughout the day today into the evening. There's a few of those scattered showers of the outer bands of this massive wide hurricane that came very close to the Carolinas as far as making its closest approach to the U.S. coast, but now it's beginning to lift to the northeast, about 17 miles an hour. You can see sustained winds at 105, so still a formidable Category 2 hurricane, but it's going to continue to lift to the northeast here and then eventually begin to turn extratropical. Now, we have coastal flood warnings in effect through Saturday, and that is due in part to the tidal flooding issue. The onshore push, the high surf, and those high winds is going to create up to 3-foot inundation along the Delaware coast. Those tropical storm force winds off the coast of Ocean City down through Chickateague, as well as coastal flood warnings through Friday in Worcester County. Wind advisories are up. They kick in at 10 a.m. and run through midnight, due in part to those high winds we expect primarily along the coastline. So expecting those dangerous swells up to 8 to 14 feet. Gusts along the coast upwards of 50 miles an hour, and watching for that threat of major tidal flooding as we go into the evening. So there's those winds through the afternoon. Gusts 46 in Ocean City, 50 in Bethany Beach. We have Jeep Fest there. It's going to be a very windy day with that wind coming off the ocean, and then the winds will continue through the evening and then begin to kind of die off as we go throughout the day tomorrow. But we are looking at primarily cloudy skies for most of Delmarva today. Again, a stray shower possible, but an overcast, breezy day away from the coast, and then the tidal concerns at the coast. By tomorrow morning, maybe some upper 50s, interior Delmarva, Eastern Shore. Friday shaping up to be a gorgeous day, but still going to be dealing with some rough surf. There's those future waves upwards of 12 feet today, but even tomorrow with sunny skies, expecting some rough surf at the coast. There's that major tidal flooding issue along the Delaware coastline. Waves up to 14 feet with inundation up to 3 feet as far as in those low-lying areas. Temperatures today, well, not going to budge all that much. We're looking at mid-70s with those overcast skies. Erin exits to the northeast. Clear skies for Friday and a beautiful start to the weekend. We're at 75 today with an isolated shower. Again, those winds and tidal issues at the coast. 60 overnight with decreasing cloud cover, and we're at 79 tomorrow. Sunshine makes a big return, but again, watch out. Dangerous surf if you're going to be heading to the beach. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, still going to be dealing with dangerous rip currents. Could see a late storm there on Sunday, but looking very nice as we get a little taste of fall next week.
Ooh, all right, looking forward to that. Chris, thank you. We are learning about a big drug arrest this week in Selbyville, and now a 42-year-old man from that town is facing a number of felony charges. According to Delaware State Police, a Tuesday search of a home on Polly Branch Road revealed over 91 grams of cocaine and over 52 grams of crack cocaine. Troy Hudson was arrested as part of an investigation for the distribution of illegal drugs. Hudson was committed to Sussex Correctional Institution on a $206,000 cash bond.
The time is now 6:52, and we are going to check in with our coastal pet of the day.
And today's coastal pet of the day, a familiar face. Check out Benny on your screen. He's excited. It looks like he's heading to a country concert. Got his cowboy hat, his handkerchief there.
He's ready to go.
As always, Benny was submitted to us by Tammy and Seaford.
And we want to see more of your pets on Delmarva. Send us photos and tell us what makes them so special. You can take a look at your screen.
Scan that QR code top center. Get your friends to us at Coast TV News. And then watch weekdays from 5 to 7 a.m. to see all the pets we feature.
The time is now 6:55, and here are the things you need to know before you go. The cloudy weather on Delmarva is having an effect on a scheduled launch at Wallops Island. Earlier this week, we told that the launch window would be for the Tomex plush, was pushed back to tonight. That is now changed again. According to the NASA flight facility, the mission needs clear skies. The new launch window is for Friday night at 10 p.m.
Delmarva is feeling the effects of Hurricane Erin on Wednesday in Dewey Beach. The ocean was open, but people were encouraged to not go past their knees. In Rehoboth Beach, the ocean was open to go in only waist deep. At Assateague State Park in Maryland, ocean access closed. And in South Bethany, the beach was open for walking, but the ocean closed to swimmers. Funeral services expected to take place today for longtime Delaware Congressman and Governor Mike Castle. Family and friends gathering at Chandler Funeral Home in Wilmington from 5 to 8 p.m. There's a private burial planned later, and that's at Friday, 10:30 in the morning. A celebration of life will follow at the Wilmington Country Club. Mike Castle died last Thursday at age 68.
All right, the battle to become the TSA's top dog is down to a pair of Labrador Retrievers.
Alex helps keep staff and travelers safe at Denver International Airport. Steeler, as is his name hints, is a canine from the Pittsburgh International Airport.
Voting is underway, and the dog with the most tallies will land the cover of the TSA's 2026 canine calendar. The winner will be announced next Tuesday, which is National Dog Day.
Now to vote, you can go to the website. As Browns fans, Elisa, I don't think we can vote for Steeler there.
Steeler's adorable, but I don't know. But we're going to turn now to our forecast. We're going to check back in with First Alert meteorologist Chris Mastrobono.
Yeah, wind and rough surf today, Chris.
Yeah, and it's only going to get worse here, especially at the coast. See winds as high as 50 miles an hour. Watching for that threat of major tidal flooding along the Delaware coast coinciding with high tide. Not expecting much in the way of rain as far as the system goes, but we are going to be still dealing with some rough surf. 6 to 10 foot waves even into Friday. Friday is going to be really nice from a weather standpoint. Mostly sunny skies, and even the weekend is going to be primarily dry. Isolated storm chance there late Sunday as a front pushes through, and then check out next week. Well, that's certainly going to be a breath of fresh air. Temperatures highs in the upper 70s and lows in the upper 50s.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you for joining us here for Coast TV News today.
And the Today Show is coming up next at 7 a.m.
Then we'll be back for Coast TV Midday at 11.
And for even more news and coverage you can count on, download our Coast TV News and weather apps. Have a great Thursday morning, everybody.